This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right. Perk, how you feeling, my man? How was that locker room? It was lively, wasn't it?
Oh, Big O, these guys are very subdued. They are. I think really what happened today to me was the realization sank in that the problems are bigger than TUA. And this is what I've suspected for a long time. I've written this, that you think when TUA comes back, you wave a magic wand and everything is okay. No, your problems are way deeper than that. There are fundamental flaws with this roster and the way that it was constructed, the way that this team is coached, the way that this team approaches things, the way that this team views things. There are fundamental flaws with this team that must be addressed, and I think that became apparent today.
Damn, David Harris from the Warriors passed away.
Oh, wow. He's young, huh?
No, 75.
Oh, 75. Okay. Well, that's a good life. I was thinking 60.
Warriors, the movie, not.
Oh, you know what? I thought they had I was thinking of a player that they had at Golden State. I don't even know the David Harris you're talking about.
Yeah, you do. You saw the Warriors.
I've seen the movie. Yeah, I've seen them. I don't know who he is. I have no idea who David Harris is. I thought you were talking about a guard for Golden State. I seriously did. Like back in the 80s.
When they run into the chicks on the subway.
Oh, okay.
The tall brother says, hey, now look at what you find here in the big city.
Oh, okay. All right. I never knew his name.
That's his line, David Harris.
Zero idea. Oh.
Yeah, and there's like a ton of shit in here, bro. Anyway, all right. This, and like you said, the problems are deep. Okay, so season's over. You're losing.
Probably, but let's wait and see. If you go to Buffalo and win next week, which hasn't happened in your last 8 trips to Buffalo, I know, then you can get back into this thing. But yeah, next week you've got to do it. You've got to do it next week.
I thought you were supposed to do it this week.
You were. Hey.
I mean, okay, so then. I'll pose the same question I posed to David Furones. I'll pose to you.
Yeah.
And I know it's not going to happen, but I've seen enough of Mike McDaniel. There is zero hope that he can turn into a competent, complete head coach. He's a beautiful human being. We all see that. Yep. Really nice man. By the way, I kind of feel very Dave Wannstedt-ish right now.
Yeah.
I 2 guys that are very likable, but really as the leaders of your foot. No, they're not. They're like assistant coaches. They're not really the leaders. And because of whatever flaws they have in them or whatever, Julian Hill continues to play and he makes mistakes over and over. Nobody ever pays a price. And I know he actually hung on to a ball today, which was a miracle of God. But my point is, it's just like you said, there's just fundamental flaws. But the fundamental flaws, I think, start and end with your head coach. So I know the front office is going to end up paying a price for all of this. But I'm just saying, dude, like your season is young enough. A coaching change. This guy does not sell future anymore to anybody, not to your fan base, not to your sponsors. Nobody really believes that this guy's head coach material.
Big O, I tried to warn about this late last year. You remember the column that I wrote before the Chiefs game? If Mike McDaniel does not win, his seat should be uncomfortably warm in the offseason, and then hot seat appeared in the headline. But yeah, this team it continued. The offense continues to be based on the big pass play. They didn't have that today. Second straight week, they're staked to a 10-0 lead, and they can't hold the lead. You rushed for 150 yards, but you didn't win. You're, I believe, 1-3 this season when rushing for over 100 yards. That run game is not going to win you games. It's going to take up some yards, and it's going to provide a balance for the pass game. But if you can't go over the top and hit deep passes to Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, you're going to lose. That's what happened today. That's what's been happening all season. Teams are onto this offense. This started last season. And I kept telling everybody, when you were 1-6 and you were losing to these good teams, they were holding you to 16 points per game. Oh, Perk, they were the number one offense. Why are you just picking out the bad games? Okay, I'm telling you, this offense doesn't work. And we saw that again today. And look, Tua contributed to it, right? The snap that goes right off his hands. I talked to Aaron Brewer in the locker room after the game. He said, yeah, maybe the snap was a little hot. It came back hard, but it hit him right in the hands. And he's right. The snap hit him right in the hands. I didn't see anything that was faster about that snap than any other shotgun snap. But look, and here's the other thing, Big O, that I've been telling people. Your big players don't come through in the big games. I mean, Tua, Tyreek, Mostert, Waddle, like
Ramsey got burned twice.
Yeah, Ramsey got burned. Ramsey had his worst game of the season today. Yeah, he had his worst game of the season today.
And by the way, the linebackers couldn't cover my grandmother, bro.
Yes. I mean, Trey McBride just running wide open. I had a DB tell me, yeah, they made adjustments at halftime. That they knew our zone defense and where to find the soft spots, and the Dolphins didn't make any adjustments. This was Anthony Weaver's worst game as the defensive coordinator. And here's the other thing, Big O, that and I've written this also, that this team just thought they had done so much by finishing number one in offense and having Tua lead the league in passing yards and having Tua lead the league in passer rating. And they get all these contract extensions and they have the great touchdown sellies and they're great on social media. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, but y'all haven't won anything. And the other writers are looking at me like I'm crazy. And I asked a player in the locker room about that just a few weeks ago, that do you think this team has its priorities straight? And I said, because you saw those celebrations after the contract extensions, and he looked at me like I was crazy. All they're doing is celebrating their accomplishments. And I wanted to say, what freaking accomplishments?
Right. Individual
just doesn't get right. That's their whole thing, is the individual and the touchdown sellies and the social media. They don't understand winning. They don't understand that winning playoff games has value. They think all the stats and all this other stuff has value, and nobody in that building tells them that they're wrong.
Well, that and when you watch the team that's just up the street from them, the Panthers, their big players come up in big moments all the time. And they had – see, the thing about the Dolphins that they still haven't gotten and they don't understand is, man, start celebrating when you actually have a winning culture. You know, the Panthers now have developed a winning culture. Obviously, InterMiami is well on their way to developing a winning culture, you know, and the Heat have had it for a long time. Obviously, they're probably a team now in transition, but the Dolphins, it's like you said, you haven't accomplished shit, dude. Individual things, we've seen that before. Ricky Williams tearing ass for 2 years. Again, team-wise, what did it mean? Nothing. Jason Taylor, Defensive Player of the Year, all that stuff. Team-wise, what did it mean? Absolutely nothing. We've seen the individual stuff, you know, X with the 10 interceptions. What did it mean team-wise? Absolutely nothing. And it's just, there's too much celebrating the individual, and there's not enough focus on celebrating what's the team accomplishment, not the individual accomplishment.
Yep. And you know, Big O, the problem is there's nobody in that building to set them straight. There's nobody in that locker room to set them straight. I thought Calais Campbell and Jalen Ramsey would be the ones to, you know, kind of get these guys focused and on the, you know, pointed in the right direction, but it hasn't happened. And I'm not saying that it's their fault. This might be beyond them. This might be bigger than them. You know, this is one guy who came in last year, and Jalen Ramsey, and a guy who comes in this year, Calais Campbell. You know, this team just they need an attitude adjustment, Big O. The talent, this is playoff talent. I'm not saying they're good enough to win the Super Bowl, maybe not even good enough to go to the AFC Championship, but it is playoff talent. You should – And you should be, with this schedule, Big O, you ought to be able to get a home playoff game and win that this year.
You should be 5-2 or 6-1 with the real coach right now.
Well,
right now. 5-2, no worse than 5-2 with a real coach. Okay.
Boy, I don't know if I'm going to go that far with it, Big O, but yeah, Mike McDaniel has to take the bulk of the blame here. He's got to take the bulk of the blame. Again, this is his team. This is his design. He's the one who comes up with the talent. Chris Greer goes out and shops for the talent. Okay, he's Instacart. This is Mike McDaniel's design, Mike McDaniel's talent, Mike McDaniel's offensive system. Like the way that players are treated, the player empowerment, all of this is Mike McDaniel. And he is now, Big O, 22-21 as a coach. He is barely over 500. And you look at all the talent that this team has, and you're just like, there's no way that is reflective of what this team should be. There's just no 22-21. Are you kidding me? Dave Wanstead could have done way better than that. I mean, I get the feeling that this is kind of the Adam Gase, Joe Philbin, Brian Flores territory that, dude, you've got this much talent. You've got to do better.
Okay, so here's the thing with all of that, and I know you extended him. What message are you sending to the fan base? What message are you sending to season ticket holders, suite ticket holders, sponsors? What message are you sending to the media? If you have an incompetent head coach overall, I mean, the man had Skylar Thompson next to him for 3 years and didn't realize he couldn't play.
Yep.
That's pathetic, dude. That's pathetic.
Yeah, you can't coach Tim Boyle any better than to know it's 4th down. Don't throw the ball out of bounds. Look, Tim is a 30-year-old ex-NFL quarterback now because he's unemployed. But he ought to know better, and you ought to drill it into him. Look, last thing he ought to hear in his ear, right? I think the ear set goes off at 14 seconds before the snap. Right. Last thing he needs to hear, don't forget it's 4th down. And maybe you don't even need to hear that when you're maybe a college kid needs to hear that, and an NFL quarterback shouldn't need to hear that. But I've got to give that to coaching. Like you can't have Tyreek Hill just looking at the ball against Tennessee. It's a lateral. The ball's rolling around, and you're looking at it like. Right. These things don't happen in Pittsburgh, in Kansas City, in Baltimore, in San Francisco, in Philadelphia. I guess I probably shouldn't use Philly because Sirianni is yelling at fans and looking like a jerk. But, the better coach teams, Big O, this stuff doesn't happen.
No, I'm with you. And that's what message are you sending? That's the problem that I have with all of this, because the season really is over. Whatever hopium you or David Fronis want to sell here. Oh, well, maybe if you pull it off next week, you're not pulling off next week, bro. You're not going to Buffalo and
Probably
winning.
Not.
And even if you do, I still don't think you're pulling off the season, because the coach has not shown me consistency that he can. In order to come out of a hole like this, I was talking about this in the beginning of this. In order to come out of holes like this, you have to be a team that was really good and suffered some catastrophic injuries that set your season back early on. Now you got your guys back, and you can look in the locker room, look at each other and say, hey, guys, we've been here through this. Let's go. A KC or something like that. That's not what this team is. This is not a proven coach. This is not a team that's been time and tested or anything like that. You're in an insurmountable hole now at this point to get out of it, and you've never even shown the ability to do something like that. That's why I'm saying you're really selling basically the white flag to your fan base if you're keeping Mike McDaniel in place.
I think there's things to be considered here, Big O. Look, we know Buffalo was 6-6 last year, and they put it together, right? So you've got to give this some chance. Plus, these players absolutely love.
What has Buffalo accomplished over the last few years? I'm sorry, is that anything compared to the Dolphins?
Well, I know they look. What I'm saying is the season is probably over, but it's not over. It's not over till it's over. Now, the Dolphins have a lot of things working against them, right? They still haven't showed you they can beat good teams. They still haven't showed you they can win on the road. They still haven't showed you they can come through in December and January when they're 4-10 under Mike McDaniel. Like nothing is lining up in their favor at all. So, I mean, yeah, but here's the thing. What do you tell Tua if you get rid of Mike McDaniel, and what happens to your entire offensive system? You probably have to chuck it. This is how Tua excels. Is Tua going to excel in another system? Is he going to be this good without all the rah Tua? We love you. Nothing you do is wrong. I don't think he will. I don't think he will. And so this is all the stuff you've got to consider. If you fire McDaniel, you pretty much are going to blow this whole thing up after the season.
Yeah, that doesn't mean you can succeed with Tua in other ways. It's just you need to be coached better. You need to build a better offensive line. You need to run the hell out of the football. And Tua can win with anybody, dude. He won even with a guy that hated him in Flo. Flo hated him, and he still had a winning record with Flo and had very little talent around him. I don't think Tua is necessarily the problem. I don't think the talent is necessarily the problem. I think the coach is the problem. You just talked about Mike Tomlin. You switch the coaches, and this team is easily 5-2. Easily.
I don't know, Big O, because your talent is this team wins in a certain way. And again, it is that big play passing game. They're not going to beat you with this run game. It's not. It's going to pile up a bunch of yards. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts, and you're not even going to bleed out. You're going to kick their butts before you bleed out. Like, this team, you rush for 193 and 188 and 150, and you've gone 1-3 in those games. Like, you're not beating anybody with this run game. So a new coach comes in, and it's like, how do I win? Well, this is how this team was trained. This is how they were raised. Like,
yep, if the new coach has a better defense, then you can win. If the new coach has a better special teams coach, then you can win. If a new coach knows how to stick to the run when it's working, you can win. I know Mike McDaniel finally won a challenge, but if a new coach can constantly win challenges, you'll know how to win. If a new coach knows how to have a capable backup, you will win. I mean, there's a lot of things that go to this puzzle on why Mike McDaniel's not winning, because Mike McDaniel constantly makes bad decisions, like keeping Danny Crossman around, like keeping and lining up Julian Hill week in and week out, where he's constantly hurting you with penalties and mistakes. These are mistakes that he is making and burying his own team. When they needed a backup quarterback, he did not have one prepared for his team. That is absolutely an irresponsible failure on his part to do something like that. So, yes, I will tell you that if you had a better coach, the entire environment would be better for everyone. And everyone would be more productive because there would be more balance. But that you need a better coach for that.
But I don't think that's not going to happen this year. You're talking about next year and revamping this thing. Like, nobody can come in this year and wave a magic wand and say, okay, we're going to be a running team. They're trying to flip a switch right now and make themselves a running team. It's not working. Again, 1-3 when you're over 100 yards. You're not going to score touchdowns running the ball, Big O. This team is not equipped. When you try to run the ball too much with this team, you know what happens? You have 2 fumbles. And look, against Indy, you have 15 second half runs. 5 of them have bad outcomes, right? You lost 2 fumbles. You didn't convert a 3rd and 1. And twice on first down, you had -2, meaning you had 2nd and 12 with Tim Boyle as your quarterback. That's right. 5 bad runs out of 15. You're not winning. You're not winning. You can't score touchdowns.
A couple weeks ago, you didn't give the defense any love when they deserved love in the game, because they had no reason really for the loss. The defense actually held up, and it was the offense. Today, you're doing it again. The defense is the one, not the running game. The TUA mistake and the defense cost you this game alone, because the defense is the one that folded every time. They gave up all the plays to Murray. And when TUA made the mistake and gave up the safety, they immediately gave up the drive right there and gave up 6 more. The defense alone and Tua's mistake is what cost you pretty much this game today. The running game did its job. I can't blame the running game today. Would I have liked to seen Jalen Wright more? Yeah. Okay, that's the one knock I have on the running game, that I thought McDaniel screwed up and he didn't use Jalen Wright. But blaming the running game? No, dude, I blame the defense and Tua's brain fart for the loss today.
Again, Big O, I'm not blaming the running game for the loss. What I'm saying is the run game is not going to win you games. It'll keep you level. It'll provide a good balance for the passing game and for offense, for play calling. But it's just not. You're not. These guys aren't good enough. These running backs are not good enough to win you games.
No, but Perk, today the running game played winning football, dude. The running game is not an issue. You cannot put the running game as an issue at all for the loss today. It had nothing to do with the loss.
It's Big O. The running game is going to keep you afloat. Okay, it's not going to win. It's almost like this defense. It's going to keep you afloat, right? It's not going to win you a whole lot of games. It's not gonna. This defense is not going to hold Buffalo to 21 points, right?
No.
Okay, that's how a defense wins you games. If the defense allows Buffalo 28 and you outscore them 35-28, okay. That's what this defense does. That's what this run game does. The offense and the big pass, that's what wins you games.
Well, okay, no, I understand that, but we have been wanting them to have balance and have the run game.
Yes,
and
I'm all for the balance.
The only positive I find out of the last 3 weeks has been that you've actually consistently run the ball, which to me is an element that Tua needed, because every quarterback that you go and see has success. You watch the running game and they're producing 130, 140, 150, 170 yards. Yep. And if the Dolphins are in that area, dude, I'm super happy with the running game. I'm fine with that. Today I have to lay the blame mostly on the defense and Tua's brain fart. That one mistake he made was super costly. You lost by 2.
Yep.
Everything.
I've just got to see it again. I got to see the big plays from Tua to Tyreek and Tua to Jalen Waddle, because if you go back and look at the games that this team has won, I'm not sure that there's not big plays with Tua to Tyreek and Tua to Waddle in every one of those victories. You haven't run for 250 yards and won a game, maybe Denver. But again, the run game is balance. It's the dessert. It's the appetizer. It's not the main course. The main course is that big pass play.
Dedicated to it, Perk. That's why you weren't.
Yes, no, I know. I like that. I like the dedication. I'd like that. Like that. Okay, I like that. Yeah. Let me be clear. Again, if that's the engine that has to drive this bus, it's not going to happen.
No.
Right. It's the run game is a necessary element, but it can't be the main element. The main element is those big pass plays to Tyreek and to Jalen Waddle. And when they aren't there, this team is going to struggle.
So what can Stephen Ross do to send the message to the fan base from here on out, when you're 2-5 and it looks like nothing is working?
I think you probably have to ride out the next few weeks and just kind of take the temperature and see, because again, let's just say you fire Mike McDaniel tonight. What are you going to tell Tua when he comes into work on Monday? That, hey, your buddy is gone. Like, I know this is the guy who made you. Now he's gone.
That's bullshit.
Oh, yeah, he did. He did.
Bro, he was a psychologist and blew confidence up his ass. He's not a competent coach, bro. He proved it. Tua leaves and he falls apart. He's not a good coach, dude. He did nothing for Tua except his confidence. Tua has carried his sorry ass from the get-go, dude. Please, look at what happened today. Without Tua, he's dog shit as a coach every single day. He does nothing. He blows smoke up people's asses.
Tua hasn't done anything without him.
He won even with Flo hating him.
But Big O, I mean, you won, but I mean, you didn't go. You weren't going anywhere. You weren't going to the Pro Bowl. You weren't going to get a contract extension.
And what talent was around him, and what coaching staff was around him to lift him up to that area?
Right. McDaniel did that for him. He brought in Tyreek. Like the Tua to Waddle wasn't getting you anywhere. right? We saw that for 2 years.
I get, but that's all there was because and he still caught 100 balls and he still got over 1,000 yards. They still won more than lost. He still threw more touchdowns than interceptions. Having no talent, no offensive line, no coaches, Tua overcame all of that actually, which is pretty amazing as it is. And now he's got an incompetent coach on the sidelines that doesn't know how to use a run, doesn't know how to use the tight ends. And all he likes to do is throw long. And if you watch Warren Sharp's charts, the most difficult passing game in the entire NFL is Miami and Tua Tagovailoa, which he's not the most talented quarterback in the world, but yet you're making him run the most difficult passing game in the NFL. How does that make any sense? That's because it's bad coaching, Perk. That's what's going on.
I agree with that. I've had a major problem, Big O, with this whole thing from the jump. That's why I predicted them to go 8-9 in 2022, because nothing about this plan made sense to me. I looked at it and I was like, this is not how you win in the NFL. Nothing about this plan has ever made sense to me. So I know what you mean with the coaching. At this point, today, I don't think it's productive to fire Mike McDaniel tonight or tomorrow. I think you let it go a few more weeks and see what happens. You see what you got to feel Tua out for this thing. What if Tyreek starts acting a fool? And what if the whole thing? I just think that these guys are so entrenched and so dug in with Mike McDaniel, the guy who loves them, the guy who lets them do whatever the hell they want to do, which I don't agree with that.
You're really answering your own question with all of that. Everything that you're saying, you're answering everything that I'm talking about. This is why he's a problem. This is why.
Listen, I was the first one on the Mike McDaniel is not all he's cracked up to be bust. Everybody laughed at me. Everybody said you're crazy, Perk. And I'm like, I'm not seeing it here. I just don't think at this particular point, maybe if they lose the next 3 or something like that, but at 2-5, I think you're almost in position to go down with the ship. Pretty much, almost. I think your advantage to getting rid of McDaniel mid-season or during the season at this point is probably just so you can be on the minds of the next best head coach. The next hot offensive coordinator that's out there can think, Dolphins, okay. I just, aside from that, I think that you just kind of ride this thing out. If you get to 2-9 or something like that, okay. But at 2-5, I'm still going to ride it out for a few more weeks, definitely.
Your message.
I know we're not going to agree on this, Big O. We're not going to agree.
No, we're not. I was also like you. Last year, I was all over McDaniel's ass while they were winning. I said, next year will be the hot seat year. Yep. That he'll screw it up and then he'll be put on the hot seat for the following year and then, and all that. But I don't even want to go through that. I don't think they should. I don't think they should do that to the fan base. I don't think they should do that to their season ticket holders. There is no light at the end of the tunnel with that man. None whatsoever. That's my problem with Mike McDaniel. And why would you continue? Like Mike Vrabel's out there, and I know he's consulting with somebody else, but brother, I would bring his ass in and find a way to, that would give you a guy that is proven, that has done it before, and a hard-nosed guy, and would bring a tough edge to this team. And, whatever shakes from that after that, so be it. But you got to make a change, and a change for the better. And by the way, by firing your coach, you're first in line so you can start searching for coaches.
Yeah, that's the big advantage right there is being first in line and having these other coaches that are top assistants thinking, Miami's out there. I'm not going to listen to anybody else. I'm going to listen to Miami. That's the advantage. That to me is the biggest advantage.
And Vrabel's not coaching on a team right now. He's just consulting, so you can steal his ass right away.
Yeah,
actually, and other guys literally have to wait till their teams are eliminated and the season's done and all the professional crap. Whereas with Vrabel, you can start to reshape this thing right away. And let by the way, let him assess the talent on the team for the rest of the way, who he wants to keep and not. And he gets to go in the locker room, in the film room for the rest of the year, gets to assess it and move on. And I think that would juice up the fan base and people, because they would see, okay, this is a proven guy. Okay, the Dolphins mean some business. They want to take advantage of what they have right now and maximize it. This is a guy that can maximize it. I'm just saying.
Big O, here's the more significant move, and the one that gets to the issue. Chris Greer. Are you going to have Vrabel and Chris Greer? Like I think we would agree the GM is the most powerful and most important person in the organization.
You might have to deal with it. If I'm saying, if you make the change now, you can't do the GM one. You deal with the coach and you have them work together, and then at the end of the season, the off season, then you do the personnel changes at that time. But at the moment, just a coaching change, and then you move on. And at the end of the year, you assess everything else. But for now, have the guy in place that's the best candidate that's out there, assessing your current roster right now.
Yeah, I see that. But the Vrabel thing could go two ways. It could go the Joe Philbin to Dan Campbell way, in which it fires up the players, or it could just go the way of the players are like, screw it, dude. This dude is on my ass. He might not be here next year. I might not be here next year. Screw this whole, we're doing this differently. We like Mike and blah, blah. I don't know. I don't know which way this thing is going to go. I don't know which way it would go. Again, I would favor keeping McDaniel because, you still got to deal with the GM. I just don't think a coaching change is going to snap this team up and wake them up, I should say. They're built to win a certain way. They've been exposed. I'm not sure that there's another way. The way this roster is constructed, I'm not sure there's another way that this team can win. Because, again, they're not beating anybody with their run game. It's good for offensive balance, but you're not going to win games based on that run game. And I don't see a whole lot here other than what they're trying to do just because of the flawed way that this roster is constructed.
Couple things before I let you go. How does somebody break their orbital bone in practice when it's not a fight?
That I don't know. I guess you could get a hand. A hand in the face through the face mask or something like that. But I don't know. It almost has to be a fight. But you can get a hand through the face mask. I'm still trying to figure out how Teron Armstead got poked in the eye and got a concussion.
Poked in the eye is one thing.
For a concussion?
An orbital bone fracture.
Right there. Yep.
That doesn't come from a finger, bro.
No, I'm not saying a finger. You can get a whole hand through a face mask. You can. I don't know. No, I'm with you. I don't know, Big O. It sounds shady. It sounds shady.
Sounds Slim Shady to the max, my brother. Yep. That is.
I think was it Nate Garner who got into a fight a few years ago and he ended up with a concussion.
Yeah.
I think somebody swung a helmet at him during practice.
Were you there that day? I told the story of John Bach and Jason Taylor. And
no.
Jason Taylor swinging the helmet at John Bach, and John Bach screaming at him, "Pussy!" and all that.
Yeah.
It was. It was nasty. But I'm just saying, because you've seen it. We've been at practice.
Yep.
We've been at it a long time. Where we used to see like practice back in the day, and we saw fights all the time.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I was like, bro, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. You know what I mean? So, okay. All right. Anyway. All right. What do you got going on the Sentinel?
Big O. Well, tomorrow is I'm going to talk about, look, they need their big guys to come through, the big players to come through. But really today was about, you found out your problems go beyond TUA. And that's the big realization. So and let me say this, Big O, I'm sorry that they lost this game from my boy Tim Bow. I wrote a Tim Bowens column on Friday. Love Tim Bowens. You were there when Tim Bow was there. I went to his thing last night at the Hard Rock. It was great being there. Tim Bow is one of my absolute favorites, and I hate that this happened on his day. That the team comes out and plays so poorly like this on his day. But if you can read my column on Tim Bow from Friday, and again, tomorrow's column is just going to be The problems go they're deeper than TUA, and you need your star players to come through in games like this, and you have a history of your star players not coming through in moments like this, in games like this.
Headline: Fire McDaniel, hire Vrabel. Right? Is that what it's going to say?
That's in the Big O Times. Sun Sentinel. It's going to be different. Sorry, Big O.
All right. Follow him on Twitter at Chris Perk. Perk, you're the best. Appreciate you, my brother.
Thanks,
Have
man.
a great evening, my man.
Always enjoy it.
You got it. There you go. Chris Perkins getting it done. EJD Construction. Call my guy Eric. He's been getting it done for like 20 years now, man. AAA rating from the Better Business Bureau, 305-433-4843, Dade or Broward County. Custom home construction, major home remodeling. Been with us for years. They use shell construction in-house. That's how they keep the cost down. They've been at this for a while. Do not work on condos, only homes. So call them 305-433-4843.